In a corner of northwestern Europe, where Dutch farmlands meet Belgian countryside, lies one of the world's geographical oddities.
Here, walking down a single street can take you across international borders multiple times. A morning jog might accidentally constitute illegal immigration. And buying groceries could require a passport, if anyone ever bothered to check. Even if you managed to build a wall, and of course found someone else to pay for it, you might create the most complex and obnoxious barrier known to man. This is Baarle, a place so geographically confused that it needed two names. Baarle-Nassau for its Dutch bits and baarle-hertog for its Belgian pieces. But calling it two towns really understates the complexity of it all. Imagine a jigsaw puzzle designed by someone with a peculiar sense of humor where Belgian pieces are scattered throughout Dutch territory. Now imagine that this puzzle has real people living in it, paying taxes, running businesses, and trying to figure out which country's laws apply to their morning coffee. Now take this random field. Half the field is in the Netherlands, surrounded by Belgium. That enclave of Belgium is surrounded again by the Netherlands.
And I said half that field is Dutch and the other half is Belgian, but it might be owned by the same farmer. I don't really know how it works here in terms of who farms what. I guess I'm just assuming they're separated. There are, after all, a few of these tiered enclaves.
The story begins in the midst of medieval Europe, when the concept of neat linear borders between nation-states was still centuries away. In the year 992, the first recorded mention of Baarle appears in historical documents, though the settlement likely existed long before anyone bothered to write its name down. At this time, Europe was a patchwork quilt of feudal holdings, where power was more personal rather than territorial, and land ownership resembled a complex web of family relationships, debts, and political alliances. During the 12th century, this particular corner of what would later become the Netherlands and Belgium found itself caught between two powerful feudal houses. The Dukes of Brabant controlled substantial territories to the south, while the Lords of Breda, later absorbed into the influential House of Nassau, held sway over the lands to the north. Rather than establishing clean boundaries between their domains, these medieval power brokers engaged in a centuries-long game of territorial chess. The Duke of Brabant began granting parcels of land to the Counts of Nassau, but not in any logical, contiguous fashion. Instead, he distributed plots seemingly at random, a field here, a hamlet there, a patch of forest somewhere else entirely. Land that was already in use for agriculture would stay with the Duke, uncultivated land would go to someone else to work. Perhaps this reflected the agricultural nature of medieval land grants, where the value lay in specific soil quality or water access rather than administrative convenience. Or maybe it was simply the result of complex marriage negotiations or debt settlements or political horse trading that characterized feudal Europe. What emerged was a geographical maze that didn't really have any common sense. Dutch territory surrounded Belgian enclaves, which themselves contained Dutch counter-enclaves, creating what cartographers would later call enclaves within enclaves. For centuries, this arrangement caused little practical difficulty. The people of Baarle spoke the same language, shared similar customs, lived under rulers who, while technically different, often coordinated their policies. The Protestant Reformation and various European wars shuffled the political deck periodically, but life in Baarle continued much as it always had. But everything changed in 1830 when Belgium declared independence from the newly formed Kingdom of Netherlands. Suddenly, what had been an administrative curiosity became an international crisis. The new Belgian state needed clearly defined borders, but Baarle presented an impossible puzzle. How do you draw a sensible boundary around dozens of tiny, scattered territories that have been intermingled for 7 centuries? The Treaty of Maastricht in 1843 attempted to resolve the situation, but the negotiators quickly discovered that the complexity exceeded their diplomatic capabilities. Rather than try to rationalize the borders, which would have required uprooting entire communities, they took an extraordinary decision. They would simply accept the chaos. Each individual parcel of land would be assessed separately and assigned to either Belgium or the Netherlands based on its historical ownership. This process involved cataloging 5,732 separate plots, a bureaucratic undertaking that would make modern urban planners weep. The Border Commission tasked with implementing this decision worked for 15 years, installing boundary markers and creating detailed maps. Even then, disputes lingered for more than a century. The final border wasn't officially established until 1995, more than 150 years after Belgium's independence, when the last contested grassland was formally assigned to one country or the other. The result of this historical accident is a place that challenges every assumption about how countries and communities need to function. Modern Baarle consists of 26 separate Belgian territories scattered throughout Dutchland, and 8 Dutch territories within Belgian enclaves. The smallest Belgian territory measures just about 2,500 square meters, which is smaller than half a football field. But it's still a sovereign piece of Belgium surrounded entirely by Dutch territory. Walking through Baarle today feels like participating in an elaborate performance art piece about the arbitrariness of borders. White crosses painted on sidewalks mark where one country ends and another begins. Belgian and Dutch flags flutter from adjacent houses. Street numbers follow different systems depending on which side of the invisible line they occupy. A single building might have 2 official addresses, 2 postal codes, and be subject to 2 entirely different legal systems. The institution of the front door rule now governs which country's laws apply to properties that straddle the border. If your front door opens into Belgian territory, you're Belgian for legal purposes, regardless of where the rest of your house sits. This has led to some creative architectural solutions over the years. Residents have been known to relocate their front doors to achieve more favorable tax treatment or business regulations. One shopkeeper denied renovation permits by Dutch authorities, simply installed a new entrance on the Belgian side of his building and continued his project under Belgian law. For properties where the border runs directly through the front door, residents can choose their nationality, a privilege that exists virtually nowhere else on Earth. This flexibility has created some amusing situations during times when the 2 countries had different regulations. During the pandemic, Belgian and Dutch lockdown rules differed significantly. The local art gallery, bisected by the international border, required visitors to enter from the Belgian side wearing masks, then allowed them to remove their masks once they stepped into the Dutch section of the same building. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Baarle is how its residents have learned to navigate the administrative complexity with good humor and pragmatic cooperation. The town operates with 2 mayors, 2 police forces, 2 fire departments, 2 postal systems, and 2 sets of national laws, yet somehow functions more smoothly than many conventional municipalities. The fire departments merged into a single cross-border unit in 2010, staffed by both Dutch and Belgian volunteers. Garbage collection operates on a carefully choreographed schedule, with Dutch trucks collecting waste from Dutch territories and Belgian trucks handling the Belgian areas. Some streets see garbage trucks twice a week, operated by different countries. The Joint Library and Cultural Center embodies this spirit of creative cooperation. The building itself straddles the border, requiring separate entrances for each country's section. Yet inside, Dutch and Belgian staff work together, sharing resources and coordinating programs. The tourist office holds memberships in both national tourism organizations, promoting the town's unique character as a destination that literally spans 2 countries. The regulatory differences between Belgium and the Netherlands have created interesting commercial opportunities as well. Sunday shopping illustrates the creative adaptation that characterizes Baarle's commercial life. Dutch law traditionally restricted Sunday retail operations. Belgian shops could remain open. This created a weekend boom for Belgian businesses and encouraged Dutch shop owners to relocate their enterprises, sometimes just a few meters, to take advantage of Belgian regulations. The result is a town where commerce never truly sleeps, as businesses can always find a favorable regulatory environment within walking distance. The development of the European Union, particularly the Schengen Agreement's elimination of border controls, has made Baarle's daily operations much simpler. Residents no longer worry about passport checks when crossing from their kitchen to their living room, and businesses can operate across border without customs complications. Yet the town maintains its unique character, celebrating rather than minimizing its divided nature. Tourism has become a significant economic driver, with visitors, like me, arriving from across Europe and the world to experience the novelty of crossing international borders while buying groceries or having lunch. The town markets itself as the most complicated border in the world, a slogan that captures both the absurdity and the charm of the situation.
Now, supposedly, due to the differing country laws, Baarle-Hertog is allowed to sell fireworks, while baarle-nassau has an erotic video store. So I'm going to conduct a bit more research. So you can check out these other videos while I go do that. Thanks for watching. I get lost.